Did you know that nearly 99% of deaths after age 75 are linked to just 5 specific causes? I never thought much about this until my brother turned 80 last year. He's still sharp as a tack, but the conversation with his doctor changed everything for our family. The surprising truth is that most of these conditions don't happen randomly. They're not simply part of getting older, as we're often told. Recent research reveals something many doctors aren't discussing enough. Most of these health threats can be prevented or significantly delayed, even if you're already in your 70s, 80s, or beyond. What's truly eye-opening is that by the time noticeable symptoms appear, these conditions have often been developing silently for years. But here's the good news. Understanding these 5 critical health risks right now puts the power back in your hands. I'll share these 5 primary causes and practical ways to protect yourself. Some might seem obvious, but others will likely surprise you. Stay with me until the end. The 5th cause is rarely discussed, yet it might be the most important factor in how long and how well you'll live. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you want more straightforward health information that could add years to your life, hit that subscribe button. Now let's talk about something that can change everything in an instant. 1. Falls and injuries. My neighbor Martha was 78, completely independent and proud of it. She'd walk to the market, tend her garden, and babysit her grandkids twice a week. Then one morning, reaching for a coffee mug from the top shelf, she lost her balance. It wasn't a dramatic fall. Just a quick stumble to the kitchen floor. But that moment changed everything. A fractured hip, 3 months of rehabilitation, the permanent move to her daughter's home. Martha's independence was gone in seconds, not from a disease or condition that developed over time, but from something most of us never worry about until it happens. Here's what many don't realize. Falls are the #1 cause of injury-related deaths in older adults. They're responsible for over 34,000 deaths annually for Americans over 65, and the numbers climb dramatically after 75. Even non-fatal falls can lead to a devastating loss of independence. 40% of seniors who fracture a hip never return to living independently. But why do falls become so much more dangerous as we age? It's not just about being clumsy. Several natural changes happen to our bodies. Our sense of balance diminishes, our vision changes, our reaction time slows. After 75, bones become more fragile due to osteoporosis and natural density loss. What might have been a bruise at 50 becomes a fracture at 80. Here's the most troubling cycle I see. After one scare or near fall, many seniors begin limiting their movement out of fear. They stop taking walks, avoid stairs, and stay seated more. But this actually accelerates muscle weakness and makes future falls more likely. Less movement leads to weaker legs, which leads to poorer balance, which leads to more falls. The good news? This is one health risk you can start addressing today with remarkable results. My friend Richard at 82 was becoming unsteady on his feet. Rather than accepting it as just getting old, he started practicing balance daily, standing behind a sturdy chair and lifting one foot off the ground for 30 seconds, then switching sides. He made targeted strength exercises part of his routine and did a safety check of his home, removing tripping hazards like loose rugs and improving lighting. Within 3 months, Richard noticed a dramatic difference. 6 months later, he was confidently walking the neighborhood again and even joined a Tai Chi class specifically designed for seniors, which research shows can reduce fall risk by up to 50%. 2. Heart disease. Frank always joked that his ticker was strong as an ox. At 77, he still mowed his own lawn and played cards with his buddies every Thursday. When he started feeling unusually tired after climbing the stairs, he brushed it off. Just getting old, he'd say with a shrug. The shortness of breath? Part of the aging package. Even the occasional chest tightness he dismissed as indigestion. By the time Frank finally saw a doctor, his heart was operating at less than half capacity. What he thought was normal aging was actually heart disease that had been developing for years. Heart disease remains the #1 killer of Americans over 75, claiming more lives than the next 3 causes combined. Yet here's what many don't realize. Your heart doesn't just wear out with age. It responds to how you treat it, even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. The first culprit is high blood pressure, what doctors call the silent killer, because it rarely causes noticeable symptoms. Over 70% of Americans over 75 have it, but many don't know because it doesn't hurt. Meanwhile, it's quietly damaging blood vessels and forcing the heart to work harder with every beat. What makes heart disease particularly tricky is how its symptoms often masquerade as normal aging. Feeling winded after activity, having less energy, swollen ankles. Many write these off as just getting older, when they're actually warning signals your heart is struggling. The good news is that your heart has an amazing ability to respond to positive changes, even after decades of less than ideal habits. Start with what you eat. Replace processed foods with more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and lean proteins. My neighbor Doris began substituting olive oil for butter, eating fish twice a week, and snacking on nuts instead of chips. Within 6 months, her cholesterol dropped 40 points. No medication needed. Moving your body daily is another heart saver. And no, you don't need to train for a marathon. Even gentle movement improves circulation and strengthens your heart. For some of my friends, it's a 15-minute walk after breakfast. For others with mobility issues, it might be chair exercises or water aerobics. Knowing your numbers is essential too. When was the last time you had your blood pressure checked? Many pharmacies offer free screenings, and Medicare covers annual wellness visits that include these vital checks. One of my favorite success stories is Gloria, who at 82 was told she likely needed a pacemaker. Instead of immediately scheduling surgery, she worked with her doctor on a heart health plan. Mediterranean-style eating, a walking routine, and medication to control her blood pressure. 6 months later, her heart function had improved enough that her cardiologist said the pacemaker could wait, possibly indefinitely. 3. Stroke. Imagine you're in the middle of a normal Tuesday. Maybe you're reading the newspaper or chatting with a friend on the phone. Suddenly, the words on the page blur, or you try to speak, but what comes out doesn't make sense. Your arm feels strangely heavy. There's no pain, just confusion. Within minutes, your life could change forever. That's how a stroke happens. Suddenly, silently, and often, without any warning pain. In medical terms, it's a brain attack. Blood flow to part of your brain is blocked or a blood vessel bursts. Either way, brain cells start dying within minutes. For Americans over 75, stroke is the second leading cause of death and the #1 cause of serious long-term disability. The statistics are sobering, but here's what gives me hope. Up to 80% of strokes can be prevented with the right knowledge and actions. Why do stroke risks increase as we age? Part of it is the natural wear and tear on blood vessels over time. High blood pressure, which becomes more common with age, puts extra strain on these vessels. Another major risk factor is atrial fibrillation, or AFib, an irregular heartbeat that becomes more common after 65. When your heart doesn't beat in a regular rhythm, blood can pool and form clots. The tricky part, many people have AFib without knowing it. The urgency with stroke comes down to one essential fact: time equals brain. Every minute a stroke goes untreated, approximately 2 million brain cells die. That's why recognizing the warning signs quickly can make all the difference in recovery. Remember the word FAST. It could save your life or the life of someone you love. Face. Ask the person to smile. Does one side of the face droop? Arms. Ask them to raise both arms. Does one arm drift downward? Speech. Ask them to repeat a simple phrase. Is their speech slurred or strange? Time. If you observe any of these signs, call 911 immediately. My friend Sarah learned prevention at 76, when her doctor discovered her blood pressure was 185/95. Dangerously high. She adopted the DASH eating approach, emphasizing vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and lean proteins, while limiting sodium and processed foods. Within 3 months, her blood pressure had dropped by 20 points. She also asked to be checked for AFib, which her doctor discovered during a simple in-office EKG. With proper medication, her stroke risk dropped dramatically. Many people don't realize that Medicare covers these preventive screenings. They're too important to skip. One of the most overlooked stroke warnings is a TIA or mini stroke, where symptoms appear but then disappear completely within minutes or hours. Many people ignore these episodes, relieved that the symptoms went away. That's a dangerous mistake. A TIA is often your body's final warning before a major stroke. 4. Respiratory diseases. Take a deep breath. Go ahead, right now. Notice how easy it is, how your lungs fill effortlessly, how your chest expands, how the air flows naturally in and out. For millions of older Americans, that simple action becomes a daily struggle. Mary never smoked a day in her life. She was the picture of health until her late 70s, when she noticed she couldn't make it through her favorite hymn at church without stopping to catch her breath. Walking to the mailbox left her winded. A simple cold would linger for weeks, leaving her coughing and exhausted. I just figured it was part of getting older, she told me later. I didn't realize my lungs were sending me warnings I couldn't afford to ignore. Respiratory diseases rank as the third leading cause of death for Americans over 75. The most common culprits are chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, pneumonia, and chronic bronchitis. While smoking is a major risk factor, plenty of non-smokers develop serious breathing problems as they age. Why do respiratory issues become more common in our later years? With age, our lung tissue becomes less elastic, like a balloon that's been inflated and deflated thousands of times. The muscles that help us breathe can weaken. Our immune system changes, making us more susceptible to infections. What makes respiratory diseases particularly dangerous is how easily they're dismissed. Shortness of breath must be age. A lingering cough, just a stubborn cold. By the time many people seek help, their lung function has significantly declined. One of the simplest yet most effective practices is conscious breathing. Try this right now. Place one hand on your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, feeling your belly expand. Hold for 1 second, then exhale slowly through pursed lips for a count of 6. Doing this for just 5 minutes each morning and evening helps keep your lungs flexible and strong. Your home environment matters tremendously too. Indoor air is often more polluted than outdoor air. Simple changes can make a big difference. Using HEPA air filters, controlling humidity to prevent mold growth, and ensuring good ventilation. Don't underestimate the importance of vaccinations. Pneumonia can be deadly for older adults, yet the pneumococcal vaccine significantly reduces this risk. The flu vaccine is equally important. Influenza can quickly develop into pneumonia in seniors. Medicare covers these vaccines at no cost to you. My friend George was diagnosed with moderate COPD at 78. Instead of giving up, he committed to a pulmonary rehab program. The first few sessions were tough, he admits. I wondered if it was worth the effort, but by week 6, I could walk twice as far without getting winded. 2 years later, George's lung function has stabilized, a remarkable achievement that defied his original prognosis. 5. Cognitive decline. When Elena noticed her husband Robert starting to forget the occasional name or misplacing his glasses, she wasn't concerned. After all, these small memory lapses happen to everyone, right? But when he got lost driving to their daughter's house, a route he'd taken hundreds of times, she knew something more serious was happening. Cognitive decline, from mild impairment to various forms of dementia, affects millions of Americans over 75. It's a health threat many fear more than cancer or heart disease. The prospect of losing not just memories, but the very essence of who we are. The statistics are sobering. After 75, the risk of Alzheimer's and other dementias doubles every 5 years. By age 85, nearly 1/3 of seniors have some form of dementia. But here's what gives me hope. Growing evidence suggests that many cases could be delayed or even prevented through lifestyle choices we can control. Scientists now understand that cognitive decline isn't simply a matter of brain cells dying off with age. It's a complex process influenced by circulation, inflammation, sleep quality, and even gut health. This broader understanding opens up multiple avenues for protection. The most important thing to know is that cognitive decline isn't always obvious at first. It's not just forgetting where you put your keys. We all do that. It's forgetting what keys are for. It's not struggling occasionally to find the right word. It's using increasingly simplified language or repeating the same stories without realizing it. So what can you do to protect your brain health? More than you might think. First, what's good for your heart is good for your brain. The same blood vessels that nourish your heart supply your brain with oxygen and nutrients. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes all increase dementia risk by damaging these vital pathways. Social connection is another powerful brain protector. Studies consistently show that people who maintain strong relationships and regular social interaction have significantly lower rates of cognitive decline. After his wife passed away, Tom found himself increasingly isolated. His daughter noticed his memory seemed to be slipping and encouraged him to join a twice-weekly bridge club at the senior center. "My thinking is clearer now than it was a year ago," he reports. Quality sleep deserves special attention. During deep sleep, your brain clears out toxic waste products that accumulate during waking hours, including the proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. Poor sleep literally prevents your brain from cleaning itself. Mental stimulation matters tremendously too. Learning new skills creates fresh neural connections that help compensate if other brain areas begin to falter. Eleanor took up watercolor painting at 82, despite never considering herself artistic. 3 years later, my doctor says my cognitive testing looks better than when I started, the opposite of what he expected at my age. After Robert's diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, he and Elena learned it wasn't too late for intervention. He began a Mediterranean-style eating pattern, rich in colorful vegetables, olive oil, and fish. He committed to daily walks and joined a twice-weekly Tai Chi class. While he still has occasional memory challenges, his condition hasn't progressed to dementia, defying his doctor's original expectations. Aging is not just about getting older. It's about how well you live those years. While heart disease, falls, respiratory issues, stroke, and cognitive decline are responsible for most deaths after 75, they are not inevitable. The difference between a long, fulfilling life and one filled with health struggles often comes down to daily choices. Your body is stronger than you think, but only if you give it the right care. Every small change you make today can have a massive impact on your future. The truth is, you have the power to rewrite your aging story. You don't have to wait until problems arise. You can take control right now. Start with just one step: a healthier meal, a short walk, a checkup with your doctor. Every action counts. If you found this video helpful, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is here to help you live longer, stronger, and with more purpose. Your best years aren't behind you. They're still ahead. So take charge of your health today, and let's make every year your best one yet.